afternoon, everyone. I'm here with Paul at Benwell, and welcome to PBA at noon. Today, we're happy to welcome back E2Gold. Since last presenting with us, E2Gold has expanded their flagship property, the Hawkins Gold Project, and they've doubled their already aggressive exploration program. Here to discuss their most recent drill results and upcoming milestones are President and CEO Eric Owens, Vice President Ellie Owens, and Natalie. I believe we also have Natalie Pierre, and you'll have to correct me on this, Natalie Pierre Trax Renault, VP Exploration.
Natalie Pierre Trax Renault.
Pierre Trax Renault, yeah.
There we go. Well, thank you all for joining us. We apologize for any little technical issues we've had today. What we're going to do is the E2Gold team will start their presentation, and then we'll take the Q&A in the chat and the Q&A box at the bottom of your screens after they're done. So thank you for joining us, and feel free to start when you're ready.
Thanks very much for having us. Okay, and thanks everyone for joining us on this update webinar. It's a pleasure to be able to talk with everybody about what we're doing at E2Gold because there's lots of activities. So I'm going to, of course, give a very brief overview of what we are as a company, where we're going, for those of you who are not familiar with the company. And then we'll leave it to Eric and Natalie to give a bit more detail on the update of our results. So for those of you who don't know us, E2Gold is a junior gold exploration company. We are based out of Ontario, North Central Ontario. You can see in this inset map up here, Toronto is down here. This is our flagship Hawkins Project. It's very large, 80 kilometers long, 540 square kilometers, with lots of interesting targets on it. The most notable one, and the one that we're really focusing on right now, is the McKinnon resource. And that resource is 6.2 million tons, grading 1.65 grams per ton for 328,000 ounces of gold. And that resource is based on 1980s Falcon Bridge drilling. It is 43101 compliant though. And so why we like this project, first of all, is the location. It's located in a region that we consider to be an emerging gold mining district. You see Hemlo over here, Timmins and Kirkland Lake over here, but these gold mines in the center here really were brought online in the past 15 years. And what that means for E2Gold and Hawkins is a good new geologic understanding of the area, good infrastructure, new investor interest. And that's really where our ability to try and grow this resource comes from. Also, though, we are located in a geologic region that we're very interested in. You can see the two limbs here of some regional shear zones, the north and south shear zones here, which connect Hemlo and all of these other gold producers and also connect Hawkins. So in a geologic sense, we're situated in a very exciting and prosperous area. So before we go into the details of the Hawkins Project, briefly, our share structure, many of you have seen this. We have a fairly tightly held share structure, 15% by insiders, 27% by funds, 9 separate funds. And for a company that only went public a year ago, we're very proud of that investment by institutional funds. And we're going to briefly introduce ourselves too, for those of you who don't know us. So I am a co-founder. I'm the vice president. My name is Ellie Owens. I am a geologist and a lawyer by background. I was a geologist for a couple of years, worked at some mining sites and exploration sites, and then became a securities litigation lawyer. And so I'm combining those two backgrounds at my position here at E2Gold. And then we've got Eric as well.
Yes, hi. So I'm of course, the president and CEO of the company, co-founded with Ellie and her mother. I'm a geologist by education, experience, spent the first half of my career running around much of the Western Hemisphere, from Central and South America to the United States and Canada. Over those years, I worked for large companies as well as small companies. In total, I've been involved in the discovery and building of some 7 million ounces of gold resources in a few different deposits in each of those jurisdictions. So we're here to do it again. We have done this before with Alexandria Minerals, and I'm here to do it again with E2Gold. And we're having a lot of accomplishments here so far in our short life.
And so a lot of you have seen Eric or I on webinars before, but here with us is our VP Exploration, Natalie Pierre Trax Renault. And so she's been with us almost since the beginning of at least our major exploration push with the project. So we'll have her give you a few details about her background.
Yeah, thanks, Ellie. Yes, Natalie Pierre-Check-Renaud, Vice President Exploration. I joined E2Gold in August 2020 as a senior mapper. My background is I am a geologist by training, graduated from Western University. I've worked on many different deposit types. I started my career as a junior mapper with the government, working up in the territories. I've worked mostly in the junior exploration industry as a consultant in mapping and different aspects of mineralogy and ore modeling. And I've worked my way up to managing field exploration projects and other aspects of the technical programs, bringing projects to 43101 compliant listings like a PEA. So I'm very excited. Eric and Ellie asked me to join the E2Gold team, and I'm happy to be here.
Great, thanks, Natalie. Okay, so about the project itself. So Hawkins Project, we're zooming in here from that map we just looked at. This is a bird's eye view again. These are the claim boundaries here in black, and this is on top of a regional geologic map. Right in the center is the McKinnon Zone, 3.5 kilometers long. So you can see it's quite a small part of this very large property package. And on that property package, we have a number of very interesting targets. You can see these orange dots here represent some high-grade historic prospects. We also have the KB claims over to the west that we staked in the past year. The KB claims sit in a really interesting area. You can see the Sugar Zone Hawkins Gold Project over here. Right across this pink blob this is a pluton, an intrusive rock, and we've got the greenstone belt rocks here in green. It's a very similar environment to for the KB claims here. So we're starting off with a really interesting look at that. At that set of claims there. But just to note that really there are a lot of other targets on this property. We're focusing on this McKinnon Zone here. And so Eric is going to give us a bit of an update on what's happening at the McKinnon Zone.
So yeah, thanks, Ellie. So here we see a vertical slice here showing the McKinnon Zone in purple. This is a longitudinal section. We've taken it, and many of you have seen this image before. Because this is where we're drilling right now, and we've taken it, flown it 140 kilometers, superimposed it upon the yellow colored Hemlo mine shown here. You can see, just to give some perspective of what we're trying to test in our current drilling program. So you can see here two principal targets shown in the red circles: a shallow level step out or step down set of drill holes that we've embarked on here. And then a second target, probably where we're spending most of our time and efforts, is the deep step out drilling, where we're trying to intersect the zone between 400 and 600 meters depth routinely. And that's a series of holes, of 12 holes, spaced 300 meters apart, in the hopes that at least we can hit in some of these holes a major zone, or if there's a big footprint for the McKinnon Zone. If the McKinnon Zone has room to grow deep, then we should be able to hit it in some of these holes. We've completed 8,200 meters of that program, of the step out program at this point. That's a total of 18 holes so far. We released 5 holes last week, assays from that. Assays are filtering in. We now have more assays coming in. And here's the update, the visual update for you here. The McKinnon Zone, again, shown in purple on this diagram, this longitudinal section. You can see the black dots in the McKinnon Zone there. Those represent the Falcon Bridge pierce points from the 1980s drilling. So that was the limit of our knowledge when we first started this step out drill program. And then in the green dots are the shallow step out pierce points. The red dots are the deeper level step out pierce points. And those red dots with the numbers on them represent the assays we've received or announced last week. And then the black dots are still the 2 holes that we're drilling right now to finish off this program. So we're happy with the results in this drill program. We've successfully intersected the McKinnon Zone, or the McKinnon Zone-like geology, in all holes we've drilled. We've hit at least anomalous gold in all holes we've drilled over quite good widths. We've hit proper alteration, the same alteration as we see up near the surface, and up to 14.7 grams per ton, as you can see in hole number 28. We're still waiting for assays for the majority of our holes. They are arriving. We'll be ready to announce more of those as they come in, and we think about those and make sure we get the proper analysis on these. And we are still waiting for, we're still drilling the black hole. So we're pleased with these results. from this drill program. And these, I'm confident that we'll be following this up in the future with future drilling. So where do we go next with our activities? Of course, we have to still finish up the McKinnon Zone. Now, this is a map of the western 25 kilometers of our property package. The central Hawkins Zone shown in the narrow stretch, which is 15 kilometers long, and then the KB claims on the western block shown in that 100 square kilometer block. Superimposed, or the base map here is a total magnetic intensity map. You can see the McKinnon Zone there where the pointer is pointing. And it's just, again, a small portion of that. 90% of our activities in the coming 12 months will be in the central Hawkins portion of the property. And that includes probably pretty much 100% of the drilling that we do, any follow-up drilling. But in addition to drilling, we have geophysics, IP, other types of geophysics that we're looking at as well. We've just completed an IP survey just to the west in that central red box there, which will be used to help begin targeting to the along trend east and west of the McKinnon Zone. And then we'll further step out as the year goes along further west to the western side of the central Hawkins portion there with more IP. There's some high grade prospects there that have had limited follow-up drilling. And then finally, we've already started doing work on the KB claims on the west. We've reprocessed the magnetic data, and I've identified 3 priority targets here shown in the yellow ovals, which we will follow up with more detailed mapping and prospecting in this coming year with follow-up IP surveys, all to lead to future drilling in 2023.
Okay, and Natalie's going to explain a little bit more about what we're doing outside of the IP and geophysics processes.
Yes, okay. So for 2020 and 2021, we spent the majority of our time basically collecting the data. So we flew the airborne surveys that Eric has mentioned. We did a test IP survey. And then what we've done is we reprocessed that data using different filters. And we've combined some of the old Falconbridge data to reprocess all the IP data together. And we're looking at that right now, comparing that to our drill targets and our downhole IP. We completed downhole IP on 11 holes across McKinnon, trying to get a better picture of the zone. We also did a lot of surface work where we did mapping, we stripped outcrops and took channel samples. So everything right now is being compiled, analyzed, and interpreted. And our preliminary results is that we do see the extension of the McKinnon Zone geologically at depth. We have seen all the indicators to us that are similar to what we saw on the shallow holes. And now what we're doing is we are compiling, analyzing, and using various studies such as mineralogy, geochemistry, and structural as well to figure out, as we overlay the data, what new targets do we have, and then the confidence of those targets. So then we can prioritize what our drill program is going to be for 2022 in our phase 3. So we definitely have a better understanding, and we're continuing to increase and improve our understanding of the McKinnon Zone and the geology surrounding it as we look at McKinnon in the context of this regional shear structure that we know goes across the property.
Yeah, and to add to that, what Natalie's saying, a lot of what we're doing at E2Gold is data collection is very expensive. And so we're really trying to delve deep into the data and rethink about the McKinnon Zone in a new way. All of us have graduate degrees in geology, a lot of our team likewise. And so we're trying to go further beyond just the simple mag data that you get. What else can you do with mag data? That sort of thing.
And then just for going forward as how we're approaching this, when we first started our program, our phase 2 drill program, we really only had shallow holes to work with. We had the Falconbridge data, which gave us the dimensions of our McKinnon Zone in space, which is basically only grade. It didn't have a lot of geological information. And what we've done now is we have taken that zone, projected it to depth, looking at the angle. We had done our phase 2 by drilling from the north and the south to really expand that kind of third dimension and understand the geology and the context of that mineralization. So we have a much better more understanding the rock types, the alteration, and the kind of distribution of the assays. And then we are also working, as I said, with our structural and geochemical data to get that model in place. So we did confirmation in the phase 1. Phase 2 is basically developing the geological model, and then we're going to come up with some drill targets to test that model.
Great, thanks, Natalie.
Yeah, and so just to wrap up here, basically all of this data that we're collecting, as both Natalie and Ellie are mentioning here, it's really all about targeting more drill targets. We have a big property package. It's 80 kilometers long. We're just scratching the surface in our current activities. We fortunately had the McKinnon Zone to anchor us and focus our efforts while we learn more about the broader geology. Once you get out beyond the McKinnon Zone, there's very little information, geological exploration, historical geological exploration to the east and west. It doesn't take much to get far away and be in practically virgin territory. So we've got a multifaceted program, all aimed at producing new drill targets for E2Gold, and there's no doubt we'll be following up on drilling in and around the McKinnon Zone. We'll be spreading out further and further along trend, and also testing new geophysical targets off trend as well. So we've got a budget planned here for all our desired activities for the year, for the next 12 months. And so we could have a really active program for that duration. Thank you. And if you have any questions, please let us know. Ask away.
Thanks to all of you. We actually have quite a few questions. So since you have this screen up, let's actually discuss that. So this is an aggressive program. Can you touch on the cash on hand and the burn rate, and will that take you into this this program?
Yes. So we have about $1 million in the bank, and that will not cover this program. We can sit and keep this going at a low level, non-drilling level for a few months, at least till April, May time. But we will need to raise more money to complete the desired program.
Great. And what is cash on hand and the burn rate?
Burn rate is, without drilling, it's probably in the neighborhood of $200,000 to $300,000 a month. If all we're doing is interpreting data and so forth.
And cash on hand is a little over $1 million.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And where do you stand in terms of permitting? So are you good for everything that you have planned here, or are you waiting on any permits?
For the majority of what we have planned, we have permits. For some extra additional items that we'd like to do, we are waiting on permits, but they should come in imminently.
Okay, great. With the latest drill results showing deeper mineralization, will your exploration strategy change from understanding the geology to defining the extent of the resource?
I think the answer to that is probably yes and no. I think we're still early days, but the goal is to, again, our goal is to try and find 1.5 million or 2 million ounce resource. And then we dispose of either E2Gold to a major with that resource, or just dispose of the resource to a major. And we're still not convinced right now that McKinnon is it, or down below it, but we're such early days. As I note, those deep level holes are 300 meters apart. And so far, we've only gotten assays from roughly half of them at this point in time. The remaining assays are percolating in now. They're just not complete yet. You could miss a lot in 300 meters. So again, back to the concept of using every available piece of information that we have to help vector in follow-up drill targets. We need to use all sorts of geochemical data, which is still coming forth, and we'll be analyzing that data and interpreting that data and help guiding the future planning for drilling. And
just to add on that, to give some context of size, each of these squares here are 250 meters. So you can see that between some of these drill holes, there's still a very large space between them, up to 400, some of them up to 500 meters between. So at this stage, the short answer is we're not at resource definition yet. but obviously, hopefully we will get there.
And
Shortly.
also just to remember that once you go east and west of this image, there's no drilling along the trend. There's been no historical drilling along the trend there. So, and there's a few high grade prospects, for instance, the Colbert Dubroy dot over on the eastern side there that seem to lie along the trend. Very little is known about that as of yet. So there's a number of things, a lot of work to be done yet at this point in time.
Yeah, and just to emphasize that too, we've got the McKinnon resource in red right here, and you can see that it sits along a fairly continuous geophysical signature to the east and to the west, hitting these high-grade prospects. So at least, and basically none of these have been drill tested with the exception of these two. So at least there is some real easy targeting to try and expand along strike.
And some potential significant upside here.
Yep.
Yeah, great. So are there any NSRs on the property? Do you own them outright?
If you go to the last, there we go. So on the grade, the narrow grade claims there, which basically are the central Hawkins Township portion and eastward, there's the equivalent of a 2% NSR on those.
Okay.
The rest of the claims that we staked, there's no NSR.
Well, there's an area of influence that's about a kilometer outside of these optioned ones. So the narrow portion are the optioned ones. So there's about a kilometer area of influence that also has a 2% NSR.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
aside from that, everything else is 100% owned outright by E2Gold and has no NSR.
Okay, excellent. Paul, I see that you've joined us. Do you have some questions for the E2Gold team?
Yep. Just a couple of ones. Now, Falconbridge got out of there in 1980. Why, first of all? And how did you guys acquire the properties?
Natalie, you may have some insight on this, but I'll start and say that I think that, as is not uncommon, Falconbridge was not really a gold exploration company. We think they went in to begin with. So the years they were active here was 1985 to 86.
Yeah.
Noranda, their sister company, was having success at Hemlo, and this was sort of a Hemlo lookalike. And the reason why I would say it, that there's a disseminated component. Not only are we in sericitic pyritic schists, but there's a disseminated component as well as a higher grade component. We think that Falconbridge, as the 1980s wore on, the price of gold was dropping throughout the 1980s after peaking early in the 1980s. And Falconbridge was not a gold company; they're a base metal company. And so they probably thought, it's a low grade near surface deposit at the time. Probably what they were looking at was 1.5 or less than that grams per ton. Not very interesting for a price of gold that's down at $400 an ounce or whatever it was in the mid to late 1980s.
But also you could say the same, the reason why I bring up this map here is you could say the same about this entire area here. I mean, Island and Magino are rediscoveries, but all of these mines and the rediscoveries of Island and Magino have brought on 26 million ounces of gold only in the past 15 years. And so really the entire area has been overlooked. And a lot of that has to do with just general trends in exploration and types of deposits that people are looking for. So in the 90s, there was a trend to go down to low latitude deposits, lower grade near surface deposits. And then finally, people kind of came back to this area in the early 2000s. And that's why you have these mines coming online now. And so it's sort of a bit of a trend in geologic exploration as well.
Okay, but as any, like, I mean, were these properties dormant for like 30 years or whatever until you took them over again?
Yeah, there would have been since the 1980s, well, a decade after the 1980s. So in the 1990s, Don McKinnon, co-staker of the Hemlo deposits, of course, came in and staked over what Falconbridge had drilled. He did not do any drilling on the McKinnon Zone itself. And so that's why we call it the McKinnon Zone, of course. He did not do any drilling on the McKinnon Zone itself. He drilled a couple of holes here and there off to the northwest and off to the northeast, and that's all he did. There were a couple of small juniors in the, I think in the late 90s and early 2000s that did a little bit of work as well. Again, they didn't touch the McKinnon Zone. Until 2017, Junior out of Vancouver came in and drilled about 10 holes or so in the McKinnon Zone, and they kind of reproduced what Falconbridge had done. They didn't add necessarily to the knowledge. They decided to stick to their knitting out in British Columbia, and they ultimately dropped the property. This is a property, so to second part of your question, or your earlier question, I've known about this project for about 10 years.
Okay.
We've operated it from a private company in Ontario. A friend of mine actually who picks up properties like this and holds on to them, and sort of a project generator type of guy. I've known about it for about 10 years. Was busy with it, busy with other things, Alexandria and so forth during that period of time. And so this came about in late 2019. The opportunity came to acquire it or option it, just as I was setting up E2Gold, and I figured the timing is probably good to get in it by that time.
Got you. Now, you touched on one of your slides about the data from Falconbridge. I mean, how useful has that data been to you? And are you going to do like the normal step out drilling where they drilled, like the 50 meter spacing, so that you can update your resource?
So I'll answer that last part of the question first. I mean, their data has been quite useful, and because it provides a level of detail that we wouldn't otherwise have. And even if, the drill hole, so I'm lying. I'm answering the first part of that question first. Sorry. The level of detail from the Falconbridge data is good. There was a fair bit of core existing, but still not enough that was ultimately useful. It was mostly good for us to get a handle on things, and we can obviously look at the drill core. We just don't have a good handle on the depths and things on much of that drill core. They did not do, I don't think, Natalie, you can correct me maybe, but I don't think they did a lot of geochemical work on the drill core. We're starting to get into whole rock geochemistry in some of our drill core now to help guide us. And then their geophysics was very good. Geophysics was great. So we're now trying to compare their geophysics, their IP work, with our modern IP work, because as we expand out beyond their data, we need to know how it compares with what they did.
Nellie, do you have anything to add to that?
I would say that basically Falconbridge did assays, gold assays on their core, and there was a small study that was done on the geochem, but there was no control on the depth, but it gave an overall sense of what pathfinder elements we might encounter, which we did our own study to compare to that and did confirm it, and we were able to confirm some of those pathfinder elements.
Okay, so I got two final questions here. That do you have any indigenous issues in the area, or how does that stand?
We have 3 communities that are in the area, and all of them we're in communication with. They are quite engaged. They provide a lot of feedback for us on our activities, how we can work within the bounds of what they would like to see us do. And I would say they are quite engaged and very easy to work with. And so I wouldn't say we have any issues.
Oh, excellent. Perfect. And another quick question. Do you have any debt?
No.
No.
Right. That's a good thing. And the final question is that, it's been a couple that have come into me here. The McKinnon Zone where you're drilling now, you've still got some holes to come. Is the results of those holes, that's going to indicate where your next program is going to be? Or are you going to try and concentrate on a very small area and just step out gradually? I mean, where's the main, I guess the question is, where's the main focus going to be?
I think it'll be in and around the McKinnon Zone, but we're gradually expanding our horizons around the McKinnon Zone. So until we hit a barn burner on these holes below, where we know we can definitely go in, we have to do it all. We have to do a multi-pronged approach. We have to step out to the east and west. We have to test new ideas and geophysical targets. And we have to follow up on this drilling that we're completing now. And we don't know what all these results will be for another month, of course. So there's going to be a multi-pronged approach. We're going to be testing a lot of targets, and unless there's something really obvious, we'll be doing a number of different things.
Gotcha. All right, Eric, Ellie, Nathalie, merci beaucoup. Thanks to everyone that was joining today. E2Gold is listed on the Venture Exchange. The symbol is ETU. Thank you very much for your time today. Much appreciated. And thanks to everyone that joined. Take care. And we will be keeping everybody posted on the news of the drill results as they come out.
Thanks very
Yes,
much.
thank you very much. Thanks, Paul, Sophie, for your help in this, and everybody that attended today.
All right, take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Bye.